Hello and welcome to another Happy Campers interview. Today I'm with Brooke Cheley-Klebe from Cheley Colorado Camps. Welcome, Brooke.
Thank you.
So excited to talk to Brooke about her family's amazing program. We're actually recording live here in Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah.
So Brooke, why don't you just start by introducing yourself and telling a little bit about your background and what you do at camp.
Okay. My name is Brooke Cheley-Klebe, and my brother and myself are the fourth generation to be operating Cheley Camps up in Estes Park, Colorado, about 45 minutes from here. And I do a lot of parent communication and, getting to know the campers and all that good stuff in the summer.
Yeah, we spend a lot of time talking about our favorite parenting books and
Right.
all the things that we can do to help raise great kids. So talk about your own family and your kids.
I have three girls. I have a 13-year-old named Ellie, and then a 10-year-old girl and a 6-year-old girl.
Okay.
And we live in Denver. And then my brother, funny enough, has three boys. So I got the girls and he got the boys.
And do all the kids go to camp yet? Or what age do you start with at Cheley?
So we just started serving 7 and 8-year-olds for a week-long camp at the end of the summer, August 5th through August 10th. And then we just extended it to 9 and 10-year-olds.
Okay.
But our 27-day term starts at 9. And then we have such a challenging, rich high school program that our campers can be here until 17, until they go off to college.
Yeah, so now for people who aren't really familiar, first of all, we're talking about Cheley Colorado Camps. It's in Estes Park, Colorado. And as Brooke mentioned, your main term is a 27-day term.
Yes.
Which for people who aren't familiar with camp, that seems like a really long time.
Right.
But I think you touched on it, but can you explain why the stay at Cheley is that length and why your program is set up that way?
Yes. It really takes some time to kind of get settled in. All of our campers unpack their stuff into their drawers. They have a place where they can hang their stuff, put it into the bathhouse, and really settle in for the 27-day period. I think that there's just a lot of strength in staying for that long. Say they don't love their bunkmate, they have to work through that, or they don't love their cabin counselor. They have to kind of settle in. And it's interesting to watch some of our kids that might be homesick. They can't just grit it out for a week. They have to get through that hump, and they usually do. And so by the end of the term, they don't want to go home. And they've really settled in. And that sometimes, as you know, is part of the confident booster, is just being able to say, oh my gosh, I can do this on my own and take care of myself and live on my own without the help of my parents. So it does seem like a long time, but it goes by fast. I always tell parents that and kids. I think parents are oftentimes more nervous about that length of time than the campers are. We're also high up in the mountains, so it does take time to acclimate and get used to that altitude. And our activities are such that we build on them. So in the first week, we might do a short lake hike or a short mountain hike. And by the end, our campers do amazing stuff. They're climbing longs and they're climbing the whole Mummy Range in one day. They wake up at 3:00 in the morning and do these really long, challenging hikes. So, it takes time to get there.
Right. And don't you do also some really great like backpacking trips that are like multi-days and that kind of thing too?
Yes. Yeah. So, we have so many neat activities that you need 27 days to fit it all in.
Right.
So yeah, they can go, our older kids go on a 5-day backpack where they really get back there and hike mountains in the middle day. And, and then 2 days to 3-day mountain bikes, and we have backpacks. We have mountain bike overnights and horseback overnights.
Oh, fun. Now, when you say older kids, so talk about kind of, you're a pretty large camp. When you look at the big picture, you have like 400 campers or something like that?
Well, we serve 1,000 plus throughout the summer, but at a time, 500.
Okay, so if you have 500, but it doesn't feel like that when you're at Cheley because of the way you are kind of split up into these different groups. Why don't you explain about your different programs so that parents could understand the different options that are available? Like, explain all your different sort of camps within Cheley.
So my great-grandfather, it was really the way he wanted to set it up. He was a big dreamer, and I think he probably knew he was about to build this really big camp. And so in the beginning, they called them little villages, but we call them units, and it's broken up by gender and by age. So we have our lower Chipeta for girls, 9 to 11. And same thing with the boys, 9 to 11. And then
is that called Chipeta too?
No, sorry, Lower Sky High.
Okay, so lower Chipeta is the 9 to 11-year-old girls.
Yes.
Okay.
And Lower Sky High is 9 to 11-year-old boys.
Okay.
And then we have Chipeta, which is for 12 to 14-year-old girls.
Okay.
And then Sky High for 12 to 14-year-old boys.
Okay.
And it's Sky High spelled with an I.
Okay.
I don't know why, but that's how it's pronounced.
So it's spelled like ski, but pronounced sky.
Yes,
Got it. Okay.
Exactly. Yes. And then we have Senior Chipeta, which is 14 to 17-year-old girls.
Okay.
And then Hiaha, 14 to 17-year-old boys.
Okay.
And then we have our Girls Trails Inn, where they sleep in covered wagons. There's 4 beds to a covered wagon, and that's for girls 14 to 17. And then we have Boys Trails End for 14 to 17 for boys. So.
And Trails End, those 2 programs that are in the covered wagons, is it primarily for kids who are really, really interested in horses, or are the horses at all the programs?
They're at both the programs, but if you have a child that's really interested in horses, that's a good fit for them to go. They get to serve as their own barn crew. They go on horse packs where they're actually packing the horse and going out for multi-day trips, and they get to dive in a little bit more. The age range is also really interesting there because you have 12-year-olds that are with 16 to 17-year-olds. So the older high school kids are really able to mentor and serve as a big brother, big sister type. And it's a little bit more of an intimate feel because it's smaller. It's 16 miles away.
Right.
So there's just the 60 campers there with their own nurse, their own dining room. And it's away a little bit from the hustle and bustle of the Land of Peaks property.
Okay.
Where the other 6 units are.
Okay. And each of those units, so say I have a 9-year-old daughter, for example, how many other kids would be in like that lower Chipeta?
Yes.
How many other kids would be in that group, and like how are the groups just like designated? Like how many kids in their living group versus that whole little camp?
So there's about 60 kids in each unit with 13 to 15 staff members with an assistant director and a director. Okay. So it really is run with that group. And then in cabins, they'll have 13 to 15 campers in each cabin with 2 to 3 staff members, and their own boathouse or bathhouse and their own lodge.
Nice.
They do stuff
so like for meals and things like that. So now, are there times when this whole group is all together? Like when do you all gather versus like, so you have these nice little living areas and kind of these mini lodges and everything, but then when are you all together? What kind of events do you gather for?
So we have a Sunday service where the units at the Land of Peaks property come together, and it's just a time to just be quiet and reflect, and there's a inspirational message. We serve all religions, and so that is a time where we come together. We have on our second Sunday all camp campfire, where every unit has a skit, and we come together for dinner and a dance party. I feel like sometimes in our promotional stuff we have all these dance parties, and it looks like
that's what's always happening.
Yeah, exactly. We're dancing all the time.
Right.
But so we all come together for that.
Okay, fun. So those of us in the camp industry know
Mhm.
Cheley well because you've been around for so long.
Mhm.
So talk a little bit about, you talked about your great grandfather started it.
Mhm.
How many years ago was that? Because you're coming up on a huge
Yes,
anniversary.
yes, we are, and we're getting super excited for that. He started in 1921
Okay.
at the Bear Lake in Rocky Mountain National Park,
Okay.
and he originally worked at Camp Everhart in
Okay.
Indiana, and he was young when he decided he wanted to start his own camp, and he had 9 boys that first summer. And then the story goes that there was about 7 cars that were driving into the park a day, and he said, oh, it's getting too crowded. So he found the property where we are now in 1926. So yeah, we're getting ready to have a big celebration for our 100th Labor Day of 2020.
And I know that's amazing that you're going to be able to celebrate with all your alumni and all the people who have come through. So I think, so for people who went to Cheley themselves, it's probably very easy for them to know that this is going to be the camp where they send their kids. But speaking to people who've never been to Cheley or don't have any familiarity with it, talk a little bit what it's like for a first-time family and a first-time camper who comes to Cheley. How do you, help them acclimate, and is it, because I think a lot of times people think they need to have a friend or they need to have been there as a parent. But just kind of talk to that parent, because I think that might be some of the people watching this would be someone who's maybe not at all familiar with camp in general, but also kind of, it's a little bit daunting thinking of a program like yours that has this huge long history and all these third generation families and all this stuff. So what's it like for if someone's thinking about sending their child for the very first time and they've never been to Cheley themselves? Talk about that.
There's so much with that question. I feel like I love talking with parents about their decision to send their children to camp, whether it's Cheley or another camp. I mean, I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts, and just I feel so strongly in just the camp experience, no matter where you go. And we really value our families that have been around forever. I mean, it's overwhelming sometimes, just the people that have come back in their 4th generation. And we also value that parent that's like finding us on the internet and taking that huge leap of faith to send them on a plane and have them come to Cheley. So I think a couple of things. We really serve kids from all over the country, all over the world. So one thing I like is that the kids that are coming are not coming with 15 of their classmates, all just kind of, on the bus and getting into the cabin. And then it's the same experience the school has been.
Right.
So I feel like we had 48 different states and 16 countries. And so it's really just kind of pockets of kids that come from all over. So they get to know these kids from everywhere and get exposed to, just ways of thinking. And I love that part of it. I mean, there's story after story of kids going off to college and having their roommate be someone from camp. So the other piece that we have been from the very beginning is that camp is fun, obviously, but it's that plus part that is the character building, the independence. So we put a lot of emphasis on who are you as a person and who are you really, trying to be. So we have what's called our code of living that Frank thought of. He made the conscious decision to not make a set of rules that he wanted the campers to live by, but they would come up with the rules. So it gives them some ownership, some choice in that. So each of those units, and we talked about, they sit down on the first day and they brainstorm and they say, okay, what are the traits that we want to live by? And there's 6 to 9 traits in any of the codes. And they're interesting because, the 9 to 11-year-old traits are honesty, and then you get to the high school ones. I'm always blown away by theirs. I mean, it's carpe diem, and some words I have to like secretly go look up because I don't know what they mean.
So it kind of evolves. So like when they're little kids, they're thinking, oh, we want to be honest or kind or something, and then they sort of grow as they go through the years. That's neat.
And really neat. Being on the road, going to visit families, they like pull them out, or you see them on their bulletins in their room. So or years later someone will take a code of living out of their wallet. So I think that, so when they get there, they decide what they want to live by, and then they really work towards that. And I think in this day and age, we focus on their academics, and we focus on their sports, and we focus on all these things except for like their social emotional intelligence and their character and being kind and all of that stuff. So that is a piece that we've always really carried and talked about with new families, that yes, we're offering these amazing activities for them to take part in, but it's that piece that they don't get elsewhere that they can have time to focus on. That leap of faith, I think in sending them, I think we've never taken our jobs lightly at all. We do our due diligence with our staff. I mean, we start in September and hire all the way through May. We have an extensive training of 10 days. They do training before they even get to us, with psychologists and how to, just situations and how to deal with those. And so we don't take the job lightly, especially now that we are both parents ourselves. I mean, that was that was the moment that we both had our children. I was like, wow, it's a really big deal. Right. It's always fun to like have those experiences. Right. Like when I drop my kids off for ski school and, everyone's like, okay, wait, can I get your number? I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, I just feel so lucky that people let their children spend a month with me.
Well, and I think what's really nice, are you kind of like, would you consider, it seems like your role with parents is you are the one that like a first time parent can call you, right?
Yes.
And talk to you, and you are a parent yourself. And so it's very relatable. And your kids, your oldest has started, no, your two oldest that go to camp already?
Yes, my two oldest.
Okay. Yes. So you're also a camp parent. And I think, that does make a difference. I think when you're both, you are the camp director, but you're also like a consumer. You're a parent sending your child. I'm really happy you mentioned the things about just the social emotional growth, because really that's the whole reason I'm doing this series, is really to educate people, whether they choose Cheley or one of the other camps I'm interviewing or some other accredited camp program. The important thing that we really are trying to get out into the world is that there's all these things that our kids are learning at school and in sports that, and they're important things, but what we're doing at these camps is so much bigger. And it's much more of it's like skills for life. It's raising kids who are going to become adults who are going to be contributing positively to the world. And so it's really great. Cheley is a camp that definitely does that. And I know you brought a letter that hopefully you can read without crying, but I think it speaks to just how strongly your families feel about the important growth that occurs for their kids at Cheley. And I think for parents who are weighing, what to do with their child during the summer, what activities there are, and they think, oh gosh, 27 days, that's so long, that's too long to be away. When you hear this letter, I think parents might be able to see the reason why it's such a hugely positive investment in your kids is because it's about the most important things that we can help our kids learn, which is their character, their social skills, their emotional growth. So do you want to read this letter that you have? And who's it from? It's from a parent. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's from a parent.
It's from a parent who has since graduated through and doesn't have kids.
Did they go to the camp too? Or no? They were just a parent?
They did, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So the parent went and then, okay. Okay, read it nice and loud so people can hear.
Today is bittersweet. The first time in 14 years we have not spent the day helping 1, 2, or 3 or 4 kids, or 3, of our kids label and pack for Cheley. Where we are all sad that there will be no airport drop-off tomorrow, no shrieks of joy as they see their friends and the mountains, no spaghetti dinner. We have spaghetti dinner on the first night. No postcard in our mailbox telling us how they are home again. We are filled with gratitude for all that Cheley has given our family. The culture you create has allowed them to blossom into the young adults they are today, confident, kind, and curious, with a deep respect for people and places. Their ability to form meaningful friendships and to be independent was formed at camp. We like to think we played a role in shaping who they are, but in reality, we know Cheley gets much of the credit. As Peter frequently says, it is the best money we ever spent. So it goes on a little bit longer, and then the son wrote us too. So
Oh, that's so great. I think hopefully that will resonate with people in an understanding that, wow, what I want to say back to those parents is, no, you did a big thing because
Yes.
you invested, you believed in this experience and let your kids go, which probably the first time it was really not easy.
Right.
And that's the thing, that's that part, that leap of faith that you talk about. It's only that first time that people have to really be like, is this going to be okay? And oh my gosh, and everything. And then after that, after you see your child come home and you see the transformation, then it's a lot easier the following years. Then it's like this joyful departure as they go off back to I don't know if people caught that, but when they said they got a postcard that said they were home, the kids were referring to being back at Cheley, which they considered another home. And so I think, Michael Thompson, PhD, writes a lot and speaks a lot to parents about how, part of our job is letting our kids go and helping find places where they can blossom, because there's some things our kids can't do when they're with us.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So, like growing that independence or learning to get along with people from all over the world. It's hard to do at home.
Yes, for sure. I think it's such a gift to your children. And I think we live kind of in an interesting time right now where parents are attached to their kids, and it's hard for them to let go. But I think if I love your chart of, if your kids are ready for camp, that sometimes it's the parent who's anxious, but the kid is ready to go. And when the kid is ready to go, it's time to go. I mean, if it's just the parents' anxieties, then you're kind of holding them back from that experience.
And that translates into other things besides camp.
Right.
Like when you're nervous as a parent about whether it's a new activity or something new that your child's maybe interested in, they really read your body language. Even if you're not saying it, if they can tell that you look scared or think it's not a good idea, they really sort of like play off of you and might change their willingness to try something new.
Right.
And so I think that's one of the amazing things about camp, is because they're with these, really great role models and around all these other like peers and everything, they do things that they don't do when they were with us.
Absolutely.
Like my kids at camps, different camps, and they tried things that if we were like on a family vacation would never have signed up to do. And that's kind of the amazing thing about just letting your child have this kind of really fun, adventurous experience.
That's why I don't teach my children how to ski.
Right.
I would rather them go out with a ski instructor.
Yes. Even though you could do it.
Yes.
But you could teach other people's kids to ski. This is what I always say whenever I'm talking about camp, like, oh yeah, like I'm doing this stuff on friendship skills, but are my own kids going to listen to me? No. But other people's kids are like, oh, I'm sure it's the same how you feel at Cheley, that kids are like, oh, well, Brooke told me that, I'm going to do it this way.
Yeah.
That's so great. Okay. So really, I want to talk a little bit, you touched on some of them in the letter. What are the character traits that you're really, and like the kind of life skills that you feel like you're most focused on teaching kids at Cheley? And what are some of the ways you do that? The code of living is a good example, where you have the kids come up with who they want to be, how they want to live together. So that's one thing, like just having some intention and focusing on these things. What are some other things that kids do at Cheley, or practices that you have that are helping build some character traits or skills?
It's so easy because it's just built into the experience. I think first and foremost, they get unplugged, right? So I was overwhelmed one day. I was standing across from my niece, actually, who was a camper. And I was like, oh my gosh, I get to spend 27 days with high schoolers without their devices. Like, what an amazing thing to get to do, because they're right there with you and they're looking at you and they're present. And so I think one of the things that they learn at camp is empathy and compassion, because the first thing about really being able to be compassionate and empathetic is noticing other people. So
oh my gosh,
they
so true.
really see other people because they're not distracted by technology. And they love it. I mean, people are amazed, like, how do you get high schoolers to let go of their devices? But it's actually very easy. I mean, they are happy to do it. So I think just that piece is just built in. And then the activities are hard. I mean, for you, our mountain bikes go down the hill and they have to come back up the hill. And it's not a solo experience. It's very much you're doing it as a group. And so if there's someone struggling at the end of the back of the string, then someone is going to be back there really helping them and supporting them. Same thing with the hikes. We're not going to do an individual hike and say, oh, you know what, 3 of us can only make it to the top, so we're going to leave the other 5 down here. Everyone makes it to the top. So I think that character piece is just built in. I can't really say what main traits we focus on, because like I said,
there's so many different
things. And they kind of come up with that, with what they want to work towards, but it's always that sense of community. They're always building just this really magical community because they're all striving to be the best person that they can be. So
just even having that conversation is a huge growth thing, because for a lot of these kids, they probably haven't had that time to just sit back and reflect on who they are and what's important to them, and just being unplugged for that, give that amount of time. Boy, they have so much time to connect with each other, connect more with themselves. That's really awesome. I love that. You also have them do chores. I mean, I'm just thinking about, like, you know, you might not even realize some of the things that are happening.
No, it's
there's a kind of a routine and a structure to life at Cheley that leads to just, I believe, better responsibility. That connection with your community, understanding when you're in a hike, looking out for other people. You know, you're not just, it's that we live in a very individualistic world where, you know, kind of everything kids hear outside of camp, or a lot of what they hear is, you know, what's the score? Let's be the best. I want to win. They get to you and it's a whole different thing. What's valued at Cheley is different than what kind of is valued in the outside world.
We're non-competitive camp, so we have a field and a basketball court and sports, but it's not our main focus by any means. It's really that individual working on your character and working as a group to get to a common goal. I think that the chores are big. We always have parents say, oh my gosh, they made their bed for at least
it lasted for week. I was gonna say it lasted for a little bit of time. I think I'm gonna adjust the light a little bit here.
I'm like
I know you're getting here, but I want you to talk about your first year, the program.
Oh gosh,
the program for the 7 to 10-year-olds. That's 1 week in August. Talk about that, because I think a lot of people will be interested in that.
So
I can get you brighter.
Yeah, that's fine. It's funny because I was just thinking about this with the 27-day program. And the fact that the kids have time to reflect. We have Vespers where they sit and they just watch the sun go down, and they're watching the birds and they're watching the trees, and they're just being. And so in the 27 days, we have really the time to do that and just kick back and settle in.
And just pausing on that, but I think a lot of camps that are shorter sessions, it is not as much like that, because there's so much effort to try to get the kids to all the different things. So I think that is the beauty of the length of your stay. You do have built-in time for kids to just chill. Which is really kind of nice for kids, especially when the whole rest of the year they're running around. You know, when you think about your child, perhaps a program like that is a better fit than one where they're going to, you know, 7 activities in a day or something, trying to cram in more things during a week or 2 of camp. You know?
We're very intentional about that. I mean, they will have a full morning activity. They don't have 2 activities in the morning and then, but so this is our 3rd year of having it. Has a new name. It's called Quarter Before Camp, and it's for 7 to 8-year-olds, and then we just extended it for 9 to 10-year-olds.
So 7, 8, 9, and 10-year-olds can all come to this 1 week program, but 9 and 10-year-olds also are eligible to come to your regular program. Okay. So if you were 9 or 10 years old, or your child is, they can either do this 1 week or the whole 27 days. Okay.
Exactly.
But 7 and 8-year-olds can only do the 1 week.
Exactly.
Okay. And it's called Quarter
Before.
Before. And is it on your website as a listed as its
Yes.
own thing? Okay.
And it's funny because I really was trying to come up with a name, and at one point I was like sprint camp because it's, you know, short, but then our HR manager was like, no, that sounds like they're sprinting to everything. Oh yeah,
No.
you're right.
Yeah.
So we have landed. I'm so excited to have landed on a name quarter before, and it's a quarter of the 27 day session,
Nice.
and it's before you come to camp,
Right.
and it's also a horse brand, and it's also the
Okay.
name of a cabin
That's
in
so
Lower
fun.
Chipeta. So
Okay.
we feel that it is nice for people to get a little taste of the experience, and they do a little bit of everything, and it's a little taste of it before they come for the full month.
So they get all comfortable. They kind of get the lay of the land and get comfortable, which, you know, back in the day, this wasn't necessary. We just like everyone just kids just went and did things and it was all fine. But now it's more like, oh, we want to make sure. So I love that opportunity. That's a nice add-on.
Yes.
And very modern of you guys, because you are one of those, you know, in the West, you're one of the most traditional long-term camps, which traditionally camp was a month-long stay.
Yeah, well, it used to be 5 weeks.
Right. And so, I mean, that is kind of the tradition of camp. So it's great that you still are been able to do your tradition and offer your traditional program, but also have this new opportunity for people who maybe want to start on a little bit smaller scale before they dive full in. Most of your campers come for multiple summers. Isn't that correct? It's not the kind of camp that's a one and done kind of thing. You want your campers come in, you know, start this experience, and then they grow with the experience, and the experience kind of grows for them throughout. Like you said, you can offer it all the way through high school.
Yeah.
So what is like the age that you see most kids starting at Cheley? Like what's
our 9 to 11-year-old program, we have wait lists in for that in our second term. So that is a popular time to start, the 9 to 11. I do find that I talk to several parents that their child isn't ready till they're 13 or 14. And I think that is okay too. We have a lot of campers that are starting at 13, 14, 15. And one of the fears that they have is that they're going to come and everyone's going to know each other, and they're going to feel like they're the only new camper coming. But we're finding that a lot of kids are coming then. And like I said earlier, our program is so challenging that it's almost kind of like Outward Bound or Knowles, that they can really challenge themselves within, and get the traditional camp piece. So the traditional camp piece, and just having Rocky Mountain National Park in our backyard.
Right. And going all the way till 17. So is it the summer before 12th grade?
Well, we have a camper and leadership training program.
Okay.
So they can apply to be in that. And that is focusing really on leadership skills. And then in the third week, they go to a different unit and really learn how to be a counselor.
And what age is that for?
That's 16, 17.
Okay. So your oldest kids are like becoming leaders at camp.
Yes.
Can kids do that program without having been a Cheley camper, or do you need to start as a camper earlier?
You have to start as a camper, and there's a whole kind of application process and a voting process on who the kids really see as leaders in their community, who are the kids that are pulling their community together in a really positive way.
So what's the oldest age a camper, like a first-time camper, could come to Cheley for the first time?
They could come at 17.
They could, but there's not a camper and leadership training.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. Okay, so you can still be a regular camper and do the program.
Yes.
But that's another program that's offered as a leadership program for returning kids who have that desire and inclination. Yes. Okay, got it. I'm clear. I just want to make sure that we're telling everybody what is available there, because as we talk a lot about in the camp community, sometimes we're so used to what we have going on.
I'm so bad.
That it's hard to like speak to people who don't know anything about camp and the whole camp lingo. When you were talking about the older kids too, I want to say that I think that Cheley is a great camp for all ages. And even maybe there's some kids who've gone to like a smaller, shorter term local camp who are looking for like a more adventure, more outdoorsy, more, like you said, more of the kind of Outward Bound type program. Like sometimes people are looking for that. So you're a traditional camp that offers that same kind of like teen challenge leadership experience, which is really, really
so
great.
much of our program is off the property.
Right.
So
right.
there are days when you can come in for lunch and there's 10 kids sitting at a table.
Because they're all like horseback riding, backpacking,
Yes.
mountain biking, kayaking. They're all over the place
Yes,
doing all these adventures.
Yeah, we have rafting and stand-up
Yeah.
paddleboarding, and so they're off the property. So we do have some kids that have started out in other camps that have kind of aged out, and they want something more challenging and different.
So I want you to talk a little bit about what you've observed, the growth in your own kids now that they've been campers at Cheley. What are there any things that you've noticed with them, or is it just you're so used to it that you don't see it as much?
Yeah, going through that as a parent was so interesting. Well, first of all, they're like amazing marketers, because they're like, Cheley is the best camp in the world. So I should just take them with me on the
you
road
can just like
stuff.
you can just sit back and let them do your job from now on.
Yeah, exactly. Just that same sense of confidence and independence, knowing that they have the capability to do it on their own. It's funny, I did get my 13-year-old a phone, and she doesn't have social media, so this is probably part of it, but you know how you can I can tell you how much you're on it. Her average was 8 minutes a day, which is not the typical
13-year-old by any means. Oh my gosh.
She's like, guess what it is? And she's like, 8 minutes. So
that alone is a huge testament to how she's been raised.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I wish we all could have that.
They're not attached in that way. They have this ability to entertain themselves. I mean, they grew up as camp kids, so they they can walk through camp. And Kate loves horseback riding, so she's really confident, almost too confident in that arena. She has this crazy story of the horses get let out right below my house at the end of the season. So she thought it'd be a great idea to just go down there and hop on a horse with, nothing, like, just
like bareback.
Yeah, nothing on the horse, not a helmet. So that was not like good judgment, but my point is
very confident.
Very confident.
So confident you have to open
Yeah, exactly. Very comfortable. Just
right.
Comfortable in their own skin, I think. So it's been fun to watch them through the whole process. And it's not just a 1-year thing. I mean, when we have campers start, our hope is that they're with us for a couple years, because they could come and be super homesick that first year and make it and kind of gain that confidence of, okay, I did it. But then to jump back into it and come back and have an even better year that second year is really part of the process. It's an important part of the process. I mean, we feel like what we offer is really offered in multiple years.
Yes. And you also, don't you have a big number of your campers who come back and serve as counselors?
Yes.
So that's also, it goes beyond just the camper years. Many of them come back as college students and work as counselors and have that opportunity to give back to the kids. And
yeah, everything. We're so grateful that we have that. I mean,
right.
They're some of our best staff, because they know we always do an exercise just with our campers and leadership training. Who did you admire as a counselor and why? So that's neat to see that come full circle.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, Cheley is just an amazing program. I mean, like I said earlier, it's within the camp world, or all the different camps, we all know Cheley. You have a beautiful setting and such an amazing program, and long time, just the stability of just offering this great program for so many years. I think parents can feel really reassured by just that tradition and that how long you've been around. And then also just yours and Jeff's leadership, that you are your camp kids. You went and did other things, and then you came back to run the camp, and now you're parents yourselves. So you really get what kids are going through, what parents are going through, and how time at Cheley can help.
Yeah.
Help them.
And I think it's important for us to not rest on our laurels. We're always just striving to be even better and listen to our parents when they have feedback, and just, be a really good organization for our year-round staff and take care of our facility because it is 100 years old, and just striving to always be better. So
I love how a lot of your newsletters and information talk about the 21st century skills, and you like to stay, and I appreciate that about your program, that you're staying up to date with what kids are needing for their development and what challenges parents are having, and you're helping parents address those, which is really a great service. It's way beyond the 27 days. What you're giving, it's this relationship and community that goes well beyond the summer months for your families. So I think that's, when you're sending your camper to Cheley, it's not just a summer thing. It's like you're going to be part of this community and this larger family for hopefully a really long time.
Yeah,
so.
It's amazing how much the kids stay connected.
Yeah,
that's the one plus of social media and all that.
Oh,
really, they stay.
Yeah, when they're not at camp, they can be keep in touch with their friends from other states and other countries and everything.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else, Brooke, that you want to share about Cheley, or how people can get in touch with you if they want to talk to you? Mom to mom or dad to mom about their child coming to Cheley. What's the best way to get a phone call with you?
So our office number. I'm in the sun again.
Here, I'll move it again.
And our office number is 303 377. Now we're taking a nap. 303 377 3616. And then Peggy, our enrollment manager, is really great to talk to. She was a camper herself. She was also a parent, and
that's great. Yeah, I think a lot of times, so the people at your office, anyone they talk to there knows Cheley really well. We'll put a link below to your website too. And then of course we'll have it on the Happy Campers interview page, a link to this interview and more things about Cheley, your video.
Yeah, we just released our new video.
Oh, fun.
So yeah.
Okay, I'll have to get a link to that too. So well, thank you so much for being on, Brooke. This was really fun. Cheley is a phenomenal program, and I hope that some new families discover you through this interview. So thanks for being on.
All right. Thank you.
I'm going to end this here.